For this image, we're going to take a slightly different approach and put some tools and images in your hands to take everything that we've just done and learned and apply it to a pretty complicated composite and retouch. It's a challenge. I was challenged by it. I know you're going to be challenged by it, but it's a great challenge and there's just lots of things going on. So I want you to have fun with it. And as a little extra bonus, I'm going to include my working PSD that I created when I was trying to figure this thing out, just so that you have something that you can reference, because there's just a whole lot of parts. We're going to walk through these notes real fast, and then I'm going to walk through my PSD and just kind of show you what's going on. And you can choose to work on top of that or start building it from scratch and do your own thing instead. But I want to give it to you as a reference because, like I said, this one's tricky and it even challenged me. So with that said, let's just walk through these notes. I'm going to take a look at these in Bridge. And the first note I have is for number 117, which is this one. It says something about the background portion of the scene, including the scarf and book and the second bottle. And what that is this blue thing back here is the scarf. This is our second bottle. And if you want to figure out what this is back here, it's an open book with a bit of writing on it. So we've got image number 117 as our background portion of the scene, and with including the scarf. So moving along, 1121 is our base image to build the composite from. So consider that your primary exposure. You can use that to align everything else to, as I showed you, I like putting it on top, turning on all the layers below, and then going to difference and doing some alignment. But like I said, I've already got a PSD built up for you if you want. So that's our base bottle. We've got 119 for front bottle, right golds, and label. That's going to be here. This is where it starts getting tricky. Front bottle, right golds, and label. That's all this stuff here. And to make that work, I needed to separate the golds from the reds. Moving along, the next exposure that Rob gave me was 1130. That's going to be this one right here. Front bottle, label, left golds, in label, and moving up the neck. A little bit confusing. And what I'm thinking he's talking about here is all of these golds within the reds, and also this highlight moving up the bottle. So we can use that to kind of create shape on the surface of the bottle, you know, and we're tying the gold reflective exposure into that composite as well. If you look kind of closely, you can see there's a little gold card held into the scene that's creating the reflection and creating the golds. That's what that exposure is for. He said he wasn't completely sure about how he felt with that exposure, wanted my input, and that's where that collaboration comes in that I really enjoy when I work with photographers. 114, front bottleneck reflection. That's this guy over here. He marked it as a select, but he wasn't sure how it was going to fit in. I agree. I think there's a little bit too much stuff happening here. It's not a very smooth grad. You know, you could get crazy and make your own version of that by just having a layer with some masks and some blend modes. As you can see, there's a whole lot of cleanup. That's going to be a real big fun part of this, is getting these bottles into shape. The next one is number 134. That's over here. what we're looking at is back bottle right side golds in label. And if you look closely, which you don't need to because there's a giant hand and a gold card in there, he's aiming for this section of the back label and the golds within. A little bit tricky because there is this glass that's eventually going to be filled with liquid, so there's a lot of interesting layer order sort of details that you'll have to watch out for. 1135, back bottle, overall, golds in label. 35, he changed the direction of the filled card and bam, lit up this label, especially right over in here on the upper right side of the crown circular logo thing. 1139, back bottle label, left side golds in label. You can see why this one's pretty crazy. Lots of compositing and exposure blending. We're looking at the left side of the back label. 1159, right here, front glass, beer body, and head. Don't like the highlight that is just left of center on the front of the glass. You know, lots of notes in here. I also think the exposure of the beer body will be needed to match others. So what we're looking at is this right here, the head, also the top of the glass, but what he doesn't like is some of this stuff up on the rim and this left front edge. Of course, it's transparent and there's other exposures behind it. I think what I did was the label that came all the way down, I just popped it up through the front of the glass. 1159 was what I just talked about. 1171 is for beer body and head and back glass. So we're looking all the way down here. The tricky part of this exposure is this gold card behind the head of the beer, right? Because all we really want is the foam. Ideally, we'd have the whole top of the glass too, but there's a giant card sitting behind there. So I wound up having to separate the foam from the background and using the head. It was a little bit tricky. I think I had to use a beer body of another exposure. And he also likes, in that exposure, a nice highlight on the right side of the main bottle. So check it out. This little thing right here. I think I tried to extend it all the way up. A little bit tricky. 1175, definition in wax edge on the right side of the front bottle. So one thing you can do when you're making these kind of composites is you're just sort of following the photographer around. He's holding a big gold filled card in there, so you know this exposure is for that area. But at the same time, remember, maybe this back glass way over here has some nice light on it suddenly. So as you're stacking these things, or as I'm stacking these things, I'm always looking for opportunities to use accidental exposures for other parts of the image that maybe got overlooked. Because our base total exposure is for this image here. Oh, there was a camera there. So even if I wanted that left, it wouldn't really work because at some point that camera got taken out. Anywho, right edge, front side of the bottle, 1179 is going to be left side of the front bottle, right? So he's going nuts, just lighting all these surfaces. So there's another highlight exposure somewhere else in the stack. And if you want the wax to blend with the bottle, have to find a way to kind of make those things happen together. Last one, 1185, third glass on left side of the image, both for the beer body and the head. So that's what this guy's for. We're going just for the body and the head. We can't use the top part of the clear glass, nor the insides of the bubbles because we have a gray card behind it. So I had to mask out the gold card in the transparent parts of the bubbles, as well as, cut this edge and then marry another glass on the top half of that glass, and it didn't quite fit exactly, so I had to nudge things over, and I think I remember I was going to need to crop down the side a little bit to make that happen because of the movement I needed to give the glass to make the upper half fit. So that is our instructions for this composite and this composition. It's quite a bit of work, and to give you a head start, I'm going to hand you my layer stack. It's not perfect, it's not dialed in, it's just rough together because I wanted to get an idea of what I was up against and wrap my mind around how I was going to put all these things together. So I'm going to offer that to you so that you have a little bit of a head start and you can really see what I've seen and maybe to have a look at my process. I think it'll help you out a lot. You've got lots of freedom, lots of creativity here. You can do it all yourself. Play with the colors, play with the blending, play with the different exposures, do whatever comes to your mind. And thanks so much for watching this one. And I really can't wait to see what you all do with this. So have fun. Thanks.